affected and staff.
Yeah. You also mentioned, and I think I heard you right, that some of your own members are reluctant or even refusing to speak with you for fear of action under the department's Code of Conduct for employees. Did I understand that right, that the Code of Conduct is a bit like a sword hanging over the head of your members?
Yes, we've been told in one case particularly that I'm thinking of, I had a member tell me that they are watching my emails. They
as in the department?
They are, yes. And that, Facebook communication is also being watched. So
when you say
there
watched,
is
that's quite incredible. So do you believe that the
this
department's...
may be more incredible to you than to us.
Yeah. So the department has access to your emails? Is that...
No, that they track who sends emails from their work email to CPSU.
Yes. Oh, they read the
Yes.
So if employees are sending you an email, that email is being tracked by the department and read?
Absolutely, and we have an example in relation to a bargaining issue that we dealt with last year, where the department issued show cause type of letters to staff who had forwarded an email that they had received from the National Manager of Workplace Relations outside the department. It was the most extraordinary thing I've ever seen.
And do other Commonwealth departments do that?
Read
people's emails?
I've not seen it.
Well, I would say there is one department that does it more frequently than DHS, and that would be the Department of Immigration and Border Protection, and notably around Australian Border Force officers, where we've had to actually change the union's processes to deal with how people can raise legitimate industrial issues when they operate under the Border Force Act.
So
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, that's okay. So your members, if they wanted to raise quite legitimate concerns with you about the way they perceive this debt management process being rolled out and concerns they have as employees of the department, they don't feel confident that they can communicate with you through their work email. They would need to use private email?
That's right. So generally, while they have a legal right to talk to us about any workplace matter, there has been increasing scrutiny, and certainly the perception of increased scrutiny around issues that have an industrial element to them. So there is absolutely a legitimate right for them to forward us information and ask for our advice on that, particularly in relation, I've got to say, to the issue around instructions that might have been received not to fix debt or errors on records, that members would be very hesitant to forward to me using their work platforms.
Yeah. If that member was to forward those instructions that were delivered through the official departmental email system to their own personal email address, in order to forward them to you without being detected, would they be in trouble for doing that, for forwarding to their own personal email address?
Depending on the classification of the information that they're forwarding, but they could well find themselves in breach of Code of Conduct for forwarding information from the department outside the department.
Okay. So just so I'm clear, we've got employees who are wishing to raise very legitimate and serious concerns about instructions being given to them by their employer in relation to collection of debts, and they're too afraid to seek union advice.
Directly through the departmental email, yes. And so a lot of my communication is done at night via personal mobile phone, talking about issues, and particularly the people that are involved in the OCI teams. I would not have any communication with them on their work email system. I just would not do it because I could not guarantee that it would not have adverse outcomes.
Just to understand, I mean, this is it's an agency that's got a more difficult culture, but we're also talking about a relatively small number of staff who are under enormous scrutiny with an issue that is highly now politicised and controversial, it's very difficult. And I guess as a union, we've had to work out ways to deal with this. And, you know, I do draw parallels. For example, I mean, we represent people who work in some of the most, high focus political areas of government. For example, the staff in the Border Force Marine Unit, they're great mariners who work on boats. Boats is a very potent issue. And so we've had to, as a union, think through carefully what is the difference between how you deal with members who are in an area that has that sort of scrutiny on a permanent or a temporary basis, and the regular public servant who has just got an industrial query. And, you know, we're careful about that because this is people's jobs and their careers.
To your knowledge, sorry, Senator, this is my last question, very last question. Pretty good though. To your knowledge, do Australia's current whistleblower protection laws apply to communication between an employee and their union when the employee is using their official work email address?
There's some complexities about the interaction of the Public Service Act, the Fair Work Act and whistleblower protections, and there are some, you know, there's some challenges.
So it's unclear.
Perhaps due to time, you could take that on notice and include it in your submission. That would be really helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.